Hey everybody, this is Matt Bergman from Learn, Lead, Grow. And the other day I came across an awesome example of a self-directed, student-centered learning activity. And this is from, let me show you right here. This is from actually the Sprinkle Top Teacher. I love it because it's a question and the students get feedback. So if they messed up, they can go there. If they get it correct, they can go there, and then there's a reward, right? So I love this idea, and I thought, how could we replicate this? And then at the same time, how could we make this even better and more accessible so that all students can learn, right? So that's what I'm going to show you here today. So right here, I put together just a sample 3 slides that we could use in order to have our students learn this particular question. So you see right here, there's the question: David bought 10 apples while Alicia brought 14. How many pieces of fruit do they have? So I put some possible answers here. Now, how I did that is I drew a shape. So you can draw a shape just like so, and you can start typing in it. Did you know that? When you start typing in that, you can go through and you can change the alignment, you can change the font size. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. Just make sure that you highlight the text if you're changing the font size, right? So that's step one. The other thing that you would want to make sure that you do is have these slides right here for that's correct and incorrect to give them some feedback. So I added those particular slides. Now, how to actually make this work so where students can go into this presentation and then click on it, you're going to go and choose the box that you want to basically link to another slide. So right here, this number 4 is wrong, right? So we can go up to the insert menu and go to link, or on your device, you can go Control or Command K. I'm going to go ahead and just select this, and it gives you what you want to link it to. Now you can link to a hyperlink to a website, or you could link to a particular slide. For this example right here, we're going to link to a slide. So let's show you how that works. So we want to link to slide 3 because this is incorrect. So I'll type in slide 3, okay? And here you go. I can go ahead and hit apply. Now, a common mistake that some people make is they'll actually click right in here and they'll put their cursor right in here. And when they do that and they type in slide 3, watch what happens. The text actually overtakes it. So in order to avoid that, make sure that you click the outer edge of your shape, then Command K and type in slide 3. All right, so we got that. Now, the other thing that you can do right here is link to the correct question. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I click on the outer edge. See how I accidentally had that blinking cursor? Don't want a blinking cursor. And I'm going to type in slide number 2. That's correct. Okay, so this is how it's going to function. So right here we have, okay, is it slide 4? Good, that's incorrect. And if I go back, slide 24, that's correct. All right, so that's going to take care of what that looks like. Now, we could add a picture. There's a lot of different ways to add a picture. I'm not going to get into that, but how could we make this more accessible for all learners? Now, the first thing that you'd have to think about is, well, once you get here, then what? So they need to go to another slide, another math problem, or maybe you say, hey, that's it. Congratulations. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to add another slide. And perhaps I'm going to just change the layout here so that it is just a title at the top. And, this is my next question. Okay, so this is going to be question number 2. To get there, if I go to this slide or I go to this slide, I would probably want to add another shape. So I'm just going to add another shape. I can type the text question. Okay. And here's another trick for you. If you click on this shape and you go Command or Control K and you type in slide 4, now I can't see anything, right? So I'm going to move this so I can. So you see slide 4, question 2. I can then take this shape and copy it. So I'm going to go Control or Command C, and I'm going to go to, that's incorrect because I want it there too. And that should take us to our next question. So let's test it out. Let's go to slideshow. Let's test it out. Yep, that takes us right there. So we're good in that respect. So we're thinking about navigation. The other thing that you want to think about too is, okay, students get it incorrect, but how can you help support and scaffold that so that students can get it right? How can you help them? So one way to do that is you can go right up here to insert, and you could insert a video, right? So if I want to go into a video, and boop, 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 boop. Let's see, I got to scroll up here. So I want to insert a video. I can insert something from YouTube. I can insert something from a URL, or I can do something from Google Drive. And what I did is ahead of time is I went into Google Drive and I actually created this particular video. I'm going to go ahead and upload that. Here we go. And so it's ready to roll. Now the problem with this, and this is something that you're going to want to make sure that you do, is when you go to that where it's stored. So I'm going to go to where it's stored right now. This video, I need to make sure that I share it because right now it's restricted. So I'm going to change this so that anyone with the link can view it. Because if I share this presentation with my students right now and they get it incorrect, they are not going to see my video. So that's very important to make sure that you do, is change that particular setting so that students can see it. Now what happens is when students go in and they get it incorrect, they can tap on it. Okay, so David brought 10 apples to the picnic and Alicia brought 4. So now you have that scaffold and support in place to help them solve that particular problem. Okay, so when you're thinking about this, the other thing too is what other high probability barriers could exist in this particular assignment? Well, one is, what are you actually measuring? So this assessment, we want to make sure that it's contextually relevant. So if we're measuring reading fluency, then yeah, we don't want any supports in place to help students. But if we're just trying to measure their problem solving ability, then perhaps we could add some additional supports. Now, I've talked about Mote in the past as a great tool where you could add an audio recording in here and students can listen to it. There are some pros and cons to Mote. If you're using the free version of Mote, you have between 30 and 60 seconds tops worth of time that you can record. And the most recent update here, as of May 2022, is that you could only record a certain number of free recordings. So that kind of puts you at a disadvantage. So a workaround for that could be that you could use a tool that I have loved for years, Vocaroo, right? So if you're using a tool, Vocaroo, you could actually record yourself. So what I would remind you to do is to kind of get your screen set up like this so you can see both windows and record. So I'm going to go ahead and record this. So David brought 10 apples to the picnic while Alicia brought 14. How many pieces of fruit do they both have? Is it 4, 24, or 140? All right, so while that's processing, I did notice that I have an issue right here, so I'm going to fix that. And then I can go right here to preview it. So David brought... Sounds good, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hit save and share. And now there's a couple different ways that I can access this. So I have a link that directly to Vocaroo. If you put the link in the Google Slideshow presentation, it's going to open up a new window, which could be distracting for your students. So a good way to help with this high probability barrier is to download it. So I'm going to go ahead and download it as an MP3. And then I'm going to do this. I'm actually going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it audio recordings. Now, this is in Google Drive. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to put all my audio recordings right in there, right? But what I would recommend doing, because you might have 10 audio recordings, is to set this folder so that when you share this folder, instead of being restricted, anyone with the link can view it. So what that means is anytime you drop an audio file in here, it's automatically going to share so that all people can have access to it rather than doing it individually every time. That's going to save you a lot of time and effort and heartache, because I know I've gone through and I've done this, and I might have 10 audio recordings, and maybe 5 of them I've remembered to share, and then I got distracted and the other 5 I didn't. So this is going to help you. So I'm going to open up this folder. I'm going to take this Vocaroo recording and pop it in here. Okay. Now, the other thing too is that I need to change the name. So you can go and you can right click or secondary click, 2 fingers with a Mac, by the way, and you can rename this, and I'm going to call it question 1. And I'm going to hit OK. That way it's a little bit easier. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, an easier way to keep them all in order, one question. This is going to allow you then, and the next question, two question or three, whatever you want to do. It's going to put it in chronological order, which will make it easier for you to locate. All right, so let's go back in here and let's add that piece. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to add an audio file. And that particular audio file, here it is. I'm going to select it. I'm going to go ahead and add it in. Now, some things you could do with this potentially is if you wanted to, you could automatically start playing this. So if I click on my audio clip right here, I could automatically start playing it if I wanted to. However, I don't necessarily recommend that. That's a scaffolded support in place for students who may need it or may prefer it at that particular time. So keep that in mind. Another thing that you could think about too from an accessibility standpoint is actually one of my favorite new fonts that I discovered, and that I'm going to select all of my text here and I'm going to change the font to Lexend. Now, Lexend is a great font for struggling readers. It actually has been shown to increase reading fluency and help students with dyslexia and other reading difficulties, and it actually benefits all students. So I'm going to change that to just, I'm going to change it to, and there's different text right here. I'm going to just change it to medium. See, it looks a lot different. It's easier to read for students. And so that is another way of making it accessible. All right, final thing that you can do is obviously adding, you're going to change the colors and things like this. But how do you get this to students? Like, one of the struggles with this is if you share this on Google Classroom and another tool, you're going to have students go to slideshow, then they're going to have to go in here and they're going to click on there. So it's a lot of they have to know how to use slideshows. And for a first grader or second grader, that might be difficult. For a senior in high school, it might be, hey, no problem. This is how you can get around that. If you go right here to File and you go to Publish to the Web, go to Publish to the Web and publish this. And what it will do then is it'll make a published presentation. So I'm going to go right to it that can be viewed in your window. So now right here, I can go and I can see, oh, okay, there we go. I can access this and I don't have to put it in a full window. Students can click on the supports they need. So David brought, and if they get it incorrect, they can get, okay, so David brought 10 apples to the picnic. And it has 10 apples. So let's write down David. I'm going to put it. So, okay, so it's helpful. David brought. It's helpful so that all students can then be able to learn, all students can be able to access this. And so how do you actually get this to students? So if you have a learning management system, you can go through and you can share that via the learning management system. But what if you had iPads or some other type of mobile device, or you wanted to quickly get this to students to practice on a tablet of some sort? You can go right up here to the share button in Chrome. And if you get the QR code, this will give you the QR code that you can then put on your board and share with your students. You can even download it. When I open it up, okay, here it is. And then students can scan this. Heck, you could scan this right now on your screen and go right to this particular presentation. So we talked about a couple different things, right? So we talked about how do you make this better. So we talked about linking to the different slides, right? Command K. We talked about creating the different slides. We talked about also going in and adding a video. Screencast-O-Matic, Screencastify are great tools to do that, and embedding that video right here. We also talked about the idea of making this more accessible by using a tool like Vocaroo to add audio. Mote's another great option as well. Vocaroo has unlimited recordings right now, so that could be a plus. We also talked about the idea of changing the font to Lexend. If you haven't checked out Lexend, check out my blog post on my blog at bergman-udl.blogspot.com. I'll share with you all about the benefits of Lexend. And then finally, we wanted to make sure that students can be able to access this, so we published it to the web. And when we published it to the web, we said, hey, if you have a tablet, you can go right here and use this QR code. So once again, what we're doing is we're thinking about some high probability barriers. We're looking for some ways to overcome those barriers to provide access, and we're planning our lesson so that students can be engaged. So thank you so much for watching this video, and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your feedback.